Hello students, we are studying Unit 2 Amazing Animals in English, and in that we completed the story Battle in the Jungle, and just now we finished the passage about the purple frog. Now it's time for a delightful poem At the Zoo by A. Milne. A. Milne wrote many poems for children, and he often wrote from the point of view of a child. At the Zoo is one of his poems written from the point of view of a child. Children do not always know the right names for things, and Milne illustrates this in his delightful poem. Before explaining you the poem, I would like to play this poem which is sung by a sweet child.
Lions and roaring tigers and enormous camels and things. There are buffalo, bisons and a great big bear with wings. There's a sort of a tiny hippopotamus with a tiny rhinoceros too. But I gave buns to the elephant when I went down to the zoo. There are badgers and bitches and butchers and a superintendent's house. There are masses of goats and a polar and different kinds of mouse. I think there's a sort of a something which is called a wallaboo. But I gave buns to the elephant when I went down to the zoo. If you try to talk to the bison, he never quite understands. You can't shake hands with a mingo, he doesn't like shaking hands. And lions and roaring tigers hate saying how do you do. But I give buns to the elephant when I go down to the zoo. But I give buns to the elephant when I go down to the zoo.
There are lions and roaring tigers and enormous camels and things. There are buffalo, bisons and a great big bear with wings. At the zoo, when a child goes, they will find lions and roaring tigers. You know how a tiger roars. And enormous camels and things. Enormous means huge. And the child is saying camels and things like camels and things like him. We know we do not use things for living beings. There are buffalo, bisons. Buffalo, bisons. The child does not know the clear name. So buffalo is not the real name, but there is buffalo. We know what is it. And bisons. Bisons are also a large wild animal that looks like a cow with long curved horns and a great big bear with wings. We know there are no bears with wings. There's a sort of tiny hippopotamus and a tiny rhinoceros too. But I gave buns to the elephant when I went down to the zoo. The child does not know the full name, but he remembers the last part of the name. So when he says there's a sort of a tiny hippopotamus, he means tiny hippopotamus. And a tiny rhinoceros. Instead of rhinoceros, the animal is rhinoceros. But he gave buns to the elephant when he went to the zoo. There are badgers and bitches and bodgers and a superintendent's house. There are masses of goats and a polar and different kinds of mouse. And I think there's a sort of a something which is called a wallaboo. But I gave buns to the elephant when I went down to the zoo. Badgers, bidgers, bodgers, these three words sound same, so the child gets confused. The real animal here is badger, and badger is an animal with black and white lines on its head that lives in holes in the ground and comes out at night. Bidgers is not a word, and bodgers means a person who makes or repairs something clumsily. We do not find badgers at the zoo, we find badgers. So the child sees badgers at the zoo and a superintendent's house. The exact word is superintendent and it means an officer, supervisor or a manager. So there is superintendent's house. There are masses of goats and a polar. Masses means group, or there are many goats and a polar. Polar means here it is used for polar bear and different kinds of mouse. So there are various kinds of mouse. And I think there's a sort of a something which is called a wallaboo. Wallaboo is not what it is. It's called wallaby. Wallaby is an Australian animal that looks like a small kangaroo. It lives just like kangaroo, but it's small in size. So it looks like a baby kangaroo. So there's something like a wallaby there, but he gave buns to the elephant when he went down to the zoo. If you try to talk to the bison, he never quite understands. You can't shake hands with a mango, he doesn't like shaking hands. And lions and roaring tigers hate saying how do you do. But I give buns to the elephant when I go down to the zoo. Now, when we go to the zoo, as a child, we all try to talk with animals. We try to make them come near us. So the child also, when he tries to talk to the bison, he never quite understands. We know the animals won't reply to what we are saying. You can't shake hands with a mingo. Mingo, that's the last part of flamingo. So just like flamingo has long legs, and so the child also tries to shake hands with flamingo, but they won't respond. So he says that flamingo does not like shaking hands. And lions and roaring tigers hate saying how do you do. Well, actually none of the animals will be saying how do you do. And in the end, but I give buns to the elephant when I go down to the zoo. Let's start with meanings. First, enormous. It means huge. Second, bison. A large and wild animal that looks like a cow with long curved horns. Third, badger. An animal with black and white lines on its head that lives in holes in the ground and comes out at night. Now in the exercise, you just have one question. Which words in at the zoo do not name real animals? Which ones are real? Answer. The words which do not name real animals are buffalo, potamus, rhinoceros, bidgers, bodgers, wallaboo and mingo. The real animals are lions, tigers, camels, buffalo, bison, bear, elephant, goats and mouse. Now here are the pictures of the animals that are mentioned in the poem At the Zoo. You can look at them yourself. Most of them you know, but 2-3 were new ones, so I gave all. That's it with Unit 2 Amazing Animals. I hope you learned the lesson as well. about the endangered animals, the fun we can have with with animals, and how smart the animals are. In your homework, you'll need to write all the exercises of Unit 2 in your English class notebook. That's it with Unit 2.